Today, I want to share with you the at-home workout that took me from noob to shredded. As you can see, I used to be quite skinny and I was very insecure with the way I looked. I had very low self-confidence, and although I was trying to make sure I had abs and put on muscle, I had no clue. I didn't have the money for a gym membership and I needed solutions. So I started doing an at-home workout that completely changed my physique in a lot of ways, boosted my confidence, and helped me give a great base starting point to where I am today. And this me right now, this is me without a pump, and it's me during a bulk. And I'm still very happy with my current physique. Obviously, it's a work in progress, but this at home workout will be an amazing start. And if you haven't really got any ideas, or if you haven't got equipment, or if you haven't got the money for a gym at home, I'm about to take you over this workout. I guarantee you, you'll learn something useful. Let's get into it. The first exercise that I would always do first thing in the morning with my dad would be doing some chin ups. So you may not have a chin up bar at home, you may not even have a tree or anything you could do at home, but we, for example, put up something like this, which you can see is just a metal pole. We've just tied that up, but you can also get those kind of things off like Temu or Amazon, whether it's those bars that you put under door handles, or you can do a bit of a home job yourself. In the end, it doesn't really matter, but you just kind of need some sort of bar that you can do chin ups on. And obviously with a chin up or a pull ups like this, chin ups like that, I don't feel like the difference is really that noticeable. Obviously, you can choose what you want. I would say you'll get more respect if you do them like this, but in the end, it doesn't really matter. I found it helped me majorly increase my forearms, my biceps, and also just like my lats on the sides from doing this kind of exercise. You'll notice a massive difference. It was a great base, and being able to pull your own body weight up is a really great thing. It's something that I have been doing less of since I've been bulking because it's really quite difficult. But let's get into it. I'll move this out of the way. I was just start off doing like a set of just 10. If you can't do 10, aim for 5. If you can't do any, then you can even just start off with an exercise. If the bar's high enough for you to grab on, you start off with an exercise like this where you're starting up high and let yourself down slowly like that. And it's actually using the same muscles, even though it's not quite as difficult, obviously, to let yourself down, just building your strength up. Obviously, if you're like really overweight, it's going to be quite difficult, but if you're someone who's like reasonably athletic, even if you can only do 1 or 2 chin-ups, the biggest thing with this is going to be consistency. And it was doing it day in, day out that made all the difference. So I'll do my first set of 10. I feel like the biggest thing with that exercise that's super important is making sure, you can see I'm already out of breath, you can tell I don't do cardio, is making sure that you are not going too fast. Obviously, if you're trying to go for a record, going super fast is going to make a big difference. But you want to make sure that you're not going too fast. And you also want to make sure that you're not doing the exercise like this, where people are just going down like that and they're not going all the way down. You want to fully extend. Obviously, we still get gains either way, 100%, but it's going to make a far bigger difference. And when you do show someone one day, you're going to get more respect from them when you're showing them that you're doing the exercise properly. Obviously, you could see with those chin-ups as well, I was using a lot of legs. In the end, if you're really wanting like that perfect technique, I thought I'd just say this, even though I don't personally think it matters that much. If you're wanting that perfect technique, you don't want your legs to be moving at all. For me personally, I don't do chin-ups enough to be in the state where I'm just like doing them no legs, because definitely doing them without legs is definitely more difficult. But I'm just giving you that heads up of if you're really wanting that big respect and if you're not going to wanting to get hated on in any way, then you want to really be doing it slow, controlled, and you want to make sure there's no leg movement. You want to just make sure it's completely isolated movement. Like when you see Navy SEALs and those kind of people do it, obviously you can really see the difference in that compared to mine. But in the end, this is an at-home workout. I don't know what your skill level is at. And when I first started off, my technique was far worse than it currently is. And the biggest thing is just making sure your technique is good enough that you can actually start getting those gains. And I feel like the hardest thing is actually just starting and just doing something. I don't want a massive amount of like worrying about technique to get in between you actually just beginning and doing some sort of workout. So you can see on my last set there, I was definitely pushing a little bit when I got to that 8. Had to take that bit of a pause. If you need to do a pause, do it. Obviously, if you hang on too long, your arms are going to get sore. But in the end, you can take a little break, especially if you find yourself swinging a lot. Obviously, I find when I do my chin-ups, I swing quite a lot. But it's also to do with how much core strength you're using, and also just how tight and restricted you're keeping your legs. Obviously, if you're relaxing your legs, they're going to swing a little bit more. That's kind of part of it. Hope you did really well with that. Now let's get on to the next exercise. And now for the second exercise, we're going to do an absolute classic. We're going to do some push-ups. For push-ups, all you need is an absolute flat surface, anywhere where there's flat ground, which I guarantee you can do them in your room. It doesn't really matter where you do them. I also liked doing them on this because firstly, this was just hard as guts, which toughens your hands up. Who doesn't like some calluses on their manly hands? But also just the fact that it had the slight incline, which you can see it's really not that much. It's probably only about this. It's really not a whole lot. But it means you can also hit different parts of your chest. If my feet are up here and my body's facing down, I can work this part of my chest. And if I'm facing up with my feet on the ground and my chest is up, I'm going to work the lower part of the chest. So there's obviously the three groups. There's one here, and there's one here. Obviously there's the actual names for them and you just call them pecs, but I know that's not the technical names. In the end, if you want to look and do more research on it, go for it, knock yourself out. This is just doing what works and what really helped me when I was first beginning to work out. I did 3 sets. I try and aim for 3 sets of whatever it is. I find 20 was a great number, especially if you're on incline, but in the end, it doesn't really matter. Just aim for a number. I would say aim for 5 or more. In the end, anyone can normally do some push-ups. If you're really wanting some challenge, you can even do like diamond push-ups, which are going to be with this kind of shape, or you can do like wider push-ups, like the crucifix kind of push-ups, where you're doing like they're really far apart. They're all going to work different parts of muscles. I would say for your first time, just stick to the basics. Let's get into it. Okay, let's get into the first set. For me, I'm going to aim for 20, but in the end, I would just say even go to failure. Obviously, if you're a real pro and you can do like 100 of these, then I would be trying more difficult exercises. But this video is for me when I was first starting off. I didn't really know what I was doing. So I would just recommend aim to failure. If that's 5, if that's 10, maybe there's 1, doesn't really matter. In the end, get into it. You're going to have a rest between your other sets anyway. Quick thing on technique is I aim to have my chest touch. In the end, you'll see often people, again, will skimp out. A bit like you can with pull-ups, you'll find that you can really skimp out and you're just doing half ones. In the end, you're the one who's going to miss out on the gains if you're not doing the exercise properly. Are you going to get some gains either way? Yes, but I would say do them properly, train yourself well. So if you ever are in a competition or if you want to show other people you're doing them properly, you want your chest to be touching, and also make sure that you're keeping a nice firm form. You'll see some people when they do it, I'll just do it up here for example, they'll have like a real sloppy waist and they're doing it like this and you're like, that isn't it. Or they'll be doing it like this. Your butt up isn't it either. In the end, you want it to be quite rigid and straight and you're pushing yourself down, pushing yourself up. And so you can see the marks clearly on my hands. So that is definitely going to toughen your hands up if you're doing them on a surface like this. So what have I got? Something over 20. But you can see it's a great exercise and I can definitely feel it in my chest. And I'm also actually feeling it on your triceps as well, which a lot of people just go, when they're trying to get big, they just want to get bigger biceps. And they're going, oh man, I just want to get bigger biceps. But actually forget that triceps, which you got this head, but you also got that back head, that is really going to add a lot of shape and add a lot of size to your arm. So don't forget to work out the triceps. Push-ups is a great way to work them out. Let's take a rest and then we'll get on to the second set. Here we are for the third and final set of push-ups. In the end with all these, like with chin-ups, if you want to do an extra set, go knock yourself out. If you want to do push-ups, go for an extra set. In the end, this was just me when I was like 16, starting off 3 sets was a good thing. But in the end, what matters the most is how hard you're pushing yourself, and it also matters the quality of every rep that you're doing. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. Let's do the last one. But for the last one, I'm actually going to do it with my feet up on here, have my arms down here, which is, you'll definitely feel the difference in the arms. And I find this one is definitely a bit more painful when you're coming from a higher place and doing the push-ups down. In the end, play around with it. You'll find out what hurts. If it hurts and the muscle's hurting, it's not a joint, it's probably really good for you. Keep doing that. And that right there was plenty for me. I could feel myself getting quite close to failure. Obviously, if you really want to push, it would have taken me probably 2 more reps and I would have been done. But let's get on to the next exercise. This is your reminder, if you haven't already, to drink some water. So if you haven't done that, remember to do that now. Oh, amazing. Now, if you found yourself thinking in the push-up video, how does this guy have such a big piece of cake? Then this next exercise is going to answer that question for you. The next exercise we have is squats. For the squats exercise, and because I have a family dinner very soon, I'm going to just do one full set. But in the end, it doesn't really matter how many reps you're doing as long as you are pushing yourself, challenging yourself. And the thing is, if you're finding it really easy, then you're probably not pushing yourself. Make sure you're challenging yourself. For me, I'm going to aim for 20. We'll see how we go. In the end, you just want to make sure that you're really feeling that squat. We're not doing like quick up and downs. You want to make sure that you're going all the way down. And this also goes for when you do start a gym membership, or maybe you've even got one. When it comes to squats, make sure that you're going all the way down. Obviously, I almost just fell backwards, but if my weight is over my body, you want to make sure you're going all the way down. I'll see a lot of people when they're squatting large amounts, even on the leg press, and they're doing half reps. In the end, it's good to get the ego going, and it might really boost your confidence. But in the end, if you're wanting those gains and you're wanting that full stretch, that is going to give you the better gains. Let's get into it. Hold for that last one. Just hold it. Count to 30, let's say. Oof. And I don't know if you're feeling that, but I definitely am. Especially for that last 30 seconds, and I was really feeling that. But we're going to get on to my fourth exercise, and one of my favorites that I know you're going to love. Let's get into it. Okay, we have our next exercise, and if you didn't guess, yes, we are going to be doing biceps using these bad boys. And I think there's a variety of stuff you can do with dumbbells. Obviously, these are just dumbbells. You can just check on like Facebook Marketplace or anything like that to get some dumbbells that are like similar to these. In the end, it doesn't really matter too much as long as you have something you can lift with. Technically, you could do this with buckets of dirt, but in the end, dumbbells are so cheap and affordable nowadays that just got some secondhand ones. You can even see that these are like mismatched, but they are the same weight. In the end, it doesn't really matter too much, just something easy. And I feel like this is kind of pretty realistic too, because who knows what you got in your garage, or even if you have a garage, you might just have some little weights you got to keep in your room. Maybe these are like your only options. But with these, I feel like a great exercise you can do. Obviously, you can do them one by one, which is fine. But I feel like a really good exercise you can do is 21s, which 21s are great. They really engage different parts of the bicep. And it's basically going to be starting off where you're starting at the neutral position. And you can do them obviously on each side if you want, or you just do them all together. We're doing up and then down to here. You can do that 7 times. And then we're going to do full rotation all the way up, all the way down. I twist them on the way down because it means they're not banging like this. But obviously it's important when you bring them up, think of bringing your pinky up towards you. And then once you're done 7 of these ones, we're going to do 7 of the here to down. And these you might not want to twist. It's just keep like that. I guarantee you by the end of that, you'll be freaking in pain. You'll be burning. So in the end, you don't want to be ego lifting too much. It's important, if I just turn to the side here, that you're not doing this. You don't want that. It feels great. And if it's a weight too heavy for you and you're going to lift it like that, it's good, but that's how you're going to injure your back. And it's also not going to help isolate the bicep that well. Compared to if it's an exercise like this, think about locking yourself off at the elbow. Think about locking yourself off right here. Pretend this is all pretty much glued. And I'm just going to be isolating it like that all the way down. What you don't want is the whole arm moving. And the last thing I'd say would be often your right arm is going to be stronger than your left arm. So with that, I would say start with your left arm first if you're doing an exercise, and then do your right. Or if you're doing them together, just do as many as your left can do, or do whichever one fails first. Unless you've been doing a lot of working out or arm wrestling earlier that day, your left is going to probably give way first. Let's get into it. And then once you've taken a rest, then you can get on to the second and the third sets. But in the sake of time, I'm going to get on to the fifth and final exercise that I love to do here. And obviously, there's also other exercises where you can do plank, or you can do exercises that are going to work out your abs. But one I really like to work was the shoulders, which again add a really massive amount of width to just your entire body in general. And you're really going to have a more manly appearance. And again, they're really easy. We can use the same dumbbells for them. And then this will be fine because this is about 10 kilos or whatever it is. So I'll just use these for the sake of this video. But in the end, if you can adjust your weights at home, or if you got lighter weights, I'd probably use lighter ones for your shoulders, but it doesn't matter too much. Just make sure, obviously, at the start of these kind of things too, that your shoulders are warmed up. Obviously, mine feel fine because I've already been doing the other exercises. But sometimes we don't always have the best shoulders. We have shoulder joints that can pop out in and out. I know that's something like my mum has. And that might be something where you just want to warm it up, do some circles, that kind of thing. That's good to do at the start of every workout, and then also doing like stretching after can make a big difference. But basically for shoulders, we're just going to be working kind of that middle head. Obviously you can work, there's a back head and there's a front head. Obviously for the front head, exercises like this, doing those ones at the front, are obviously going to be really good for it. But once you start doing things like bench press and stuff, it's not going to really make that big a difference. Obviously for the back one, there's a couple of things you can do, but at the start, just giving you a rough base and just working out in general is going to make a big difference. And then once you start going gym, then you can really start focusing on hitting every muscle group and making sure that you're got a good all-round physique. When you're first starting off, I would say anything is good. For the shoulders, basically having them at this kind of, where you can see I'm kind of like bent over. You're gonna look at dash gay, but you're gonna look like this, and then having it ready. You don't want your arms to be completely straight. I have them a little bit bent, and you're going to be leaning forwards. Obviously, this is where you want a mirror to make sure you're doing them symmetrical, because otherwise you might have one arm doing this and the other one's going all the way up. You don't want that. You want to make sure they're symmetrical. So for me right now, I've actually got the car that I can look into the window of our car, and I can see myself doing it in that. But basically for that, we're going to be leaning over, and we're going to be doing them out to the sides, like we're doing wings. And obviously you can really feel that weight. The biggest thing, obviously I can throw it up and then let it down really fast, but in the end, the more controlled it is, the better. Even though I think for shoulders, higher reps is good, I found it has really helped me. So I would say aim for that 15, 20 mark and just start doing half reps at the end. I really find that my shoulders, to really exhaust them, I want to give them a good drill. I've got to do more reps than other exercises. So I would say do a lot of reps and then see how you're feeling. If you just want to do high weight and just a couple reps, you do you. Hopefully that gives you a good idea of what the shoulder exercise should look like. And I'm not going to do any more sets tonight because I have a family dinner to go to. And I also currently actually have a gym membership. So I'm going to aim to go down there after dinner. But I hope that you found this video helpful. This workout for me just created the base of my skills and got the base of my muscle groups sorted. And it just begun me on my working out journey. And it just really awakened something in me, and I've been going ever since. So I hope that you found it helpful. Let me know in the comments below what the hardest exercise was for you, what your favorite exercise was, and let me know what you'd like to see in future videos. I appreciate you watching, I value you, and I hope to see you in the next video. See you next time.